Welcome, everybody, to the next episode of Mission Ignited. Today, I'm your host, Swami Tirtha, the Orange Cowboy, and today I'm excited to introduce you to somebody who's got a story. You're not going to believe it. Leeland Holgate, the Willful Warrior.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate being here.
Leland is a former combat vet and now a neuroscientist. Okay. He is completing his master's degree in biomedical neuroscience. And after that, he's going for his doctorate in neurochemistry. So it's going to be an interesting story. Welcome to the show, Leland.
Thank you. It's good to be here. I appreciate you having me.
So tell us, how'd you go from vet to scientist to neuroscience?
Yeah, right? Like two polar opposites, right? Like who would think ever?
Thank you for your service. If I could support you in any way, let me know. Tell us where you were as a veteran, what you did, and how
Yeah.
you that led you to neuroscience.
So I joined the Air Force, scored 100%, like just aced the ASVAB, which is their entry test.
Wow.
I got to pick my job. And I didn't know what I was selecting. All I knew was that it was a flight crew position. Off to basic training, I went. I started my training, and wouldn't you know, they have special forces inside of the Air Force as well. So they have these selection trainings to see if you can pass some of these tests. And I
Right.
passed some of the initial tests. So immediately being inside a flight crew, they knew that my trajectory was going to be more on the combat and logistics side of things. Went operational with one of the most deployed squadrons in the United States military, the most deployed squadron in the United States Air Force, and was immediately tasked out after all of my training to the Middle East. So we were there for Operation Northern Watch, where we were going into Iraq pre the invasion, even though we weren't there. We were also the Kosovo conflict. So, of course, we were the first people to be tasked past enemy lines. We were well over the border of Albania and into Kosovo and many of these areas. So, right in the thick of it. And on the way out, this was my last combat duty station, by the way. On the way out, we get lit up as we're taking off. We get painted, which means we got locked on by something.
Oh,
Something is
okay.
targeting us as we're
Yeah.
in the air, right?
Yeah.
So you can imagine it's just absolute chaos. The alarms are going off, evade, 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 wah, 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 all these alarms going off. And of course, the first, I can feel it in my body right now. Like, oh
Yeah.
man, it is like etched into my experience of this life. I never want anybody to feel that level of helplessness, looking for this missile that is supposedly just ripping towards us. Yeah, it was only about 10 to 15 minutes, but you can imagine very
Mhm.
stressful situations. And that 15 minutes felt like 2 days. And they painted us, but did not fire. If they fired, I would not be here speaking to
Okay.
you.
So how long were you in the service then? You left.
For 3 years. Broke my neck after coming back. So made it through all the craziness.
Okay.
And then suffered a catastrophic neck injury on rest and recovery, R&R, we call it, when we got back to the States. So, yeah.
How did that happen?
Yeah.
What's
So,
going on?
as you can imagine, we can't just like ride a bike or go for a nice brisk walk, right? To get rid of some of these things. We got to get the haunches up. These are guys, we're all used to like jumping out of aircraft and firing
Right.
weapons and
Okay.
blowing things up with explosives. Like, yeah, a simple bike ride isn't going to cut it for us. So, like the crazy guys that we are, we got one of the fastest watercrafts that we could find and decided to pull ourselves behind it on an inner tube. And you can imagine with our type, the speeds that we were like pushing our guys up to, and how funny it was for us as we turned and watched them, not be able to hold on. Well, it was my turn, and I goaded the driver. Basically called him a sissy. You're driving too slow, and that was. He answered. He did, and then when my
Yeah.
skips became fewer and fewer between and hitting the water, I was like, "Ooh, this feels unsafe. It feels really unsafe." And the moment I
Yeah.
thought that, he cut left, and I was slung shot off of this inner tube. And when I hit the water, everything went black. And little did I know, but I snapped my neck at that point in time at C1 and C2, compressed the spinal column. And that was it. That's where breathing and blood pressure and heart
Wow.
rate and all of these things are controlled. So as you can imagine, heart turned off, breathing stopped, and I was floating face down in the water. Thankfully, I had a life jacket on, and thankfully, one of my brothers was nearby on a wave runner, saw what happened, saw me floating face down, tore ass over to me, pulled me out of the water, and just wore me like a belt because I'm just loosey goosey. Of course,
Right.
I'm just limp. Gets me to the shoreline. And this was the crazy part is I described from the shoreline to the first responder that was there who
Mm.
revived me. Like I described the whole thing because I had one of those amazing out of body experiences, which was it's just absolutely peaceful. It's the only way I can describe it to people. Like,
Well,
you work.
you were above yourself watching it?
I was looking over
Uh,
myself and the crowd carrying me. So it was like 7 or 8 dudes surrounded the wave runner. They all picked me up, carried me onto the shore. And then some state trooper that coincidentally was nearby runs over and starts resuscitation.
mm.
So at that point, it's like I'm looking over his shoulder, just
Wow.
watching this happen. And I'm watching him. It was very unique too. Like when I described it, my friends were like, "How the hell did you know that? There's no way you could have known that." Because what he did was he popped me right in the chest where my heart is and used his knuckles to play the xylophone with my ribs, which
Oh,
obviously massaged the heart, got everything, going again. But I described the whole thing to my friends, and it blew their mind. It blew my mind too because it was the most peaceful experience I had
right. I
ever
was
had
going
in
to.
my life. Like
Yeah.
the only way I can describe it to people is imagine working for 12 hours, right? And you're working, like you're on your feet, you got boots on, you're working. You come home, and that moment when you sit on the couch and then take your boots off, that you get, that's the only way I could describe it. It was the most peaceful. There was no wants, there was no thoughts, there was
Mm.
nothing. There was just isness. There was me watching these things, but I didn't care. I wasn't attached to how it was going to turn out. I was just an
Oh,
observer watching what was happening purely. It was amazing.
wow. So how did that work out?
Yeah, well, so from there, extreme contrast, most peaceful experience in my entire life, at least in this go around in existence. Extreme contrast comes slamming back down into my body. I
Yeah.
wake up with this horse collar around my neck in the ambulance. And it sounds like, the Charlie Brown, like Peanuts parents,
Yeah.
wah,
Yeah.
wah, wah. That's what it
Well,
sounded like for like a minute or two. Cause of course, I felt flashbanged. Like I was
yeah.
just coming to, I hear like faint beeps and I can hear people talking, but all I hear is that wah, wah, wah. Finally, it starts to clear up and I can hear Holgate. Do you feel that? Holgate. Do you feel that? Holgate. Do you feel that? And finally, once I could come to, I was like, what are you talking about? Can I feel what? And immediately this rush went down my face and it stopped. And that's when I tuned in like, whoa, 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 whoa. Why can't I feel my arms? Where are my hands? Where are my legs? What is
Mm.
happening right now? And I'm feeling it right now go up in my body, that initial emotion. Absolute terror just set in. Like, I can't feel anything under my Adam's apple. Why is it hard to breathe right now? It feels like I have an elephant on my chest. What is happening? What is going on? The only thing I can feel is right at the very back of my skull, that horse collars like digging in to that part. And it's just 15,000 level pain, well above 1 to 10. So it's like that's all I could feel. And then I hear this guy asking me, "Can you feel that?" And then he says one of the things you never want to hear a doctor or EMT say when I say, "Can I feel what?" And he goes, "Oh no."
Oh no.
You
Oh.
don't want to hear those things from a pilot, from your EMT, or from your doctor. Oh no, what the hell? Like what? Oh my God. So yeah, that was the experience there. And then of course when we got to the hospital, they performed the MRI, and what do you know? Found a silver dollar size contusion right on C1, C2, where the vertebrae came down and compressed. Now, I got
Mm.
lucky. There was no structural damage, like a lot of spinal cord injuries. A
Okay.
lot of them get
Yeah.
structural damage, have to have cages put in and all these other things.
Yeah.
I was lucky to where it was just a compression injury. But you can also imagine this is 1999. Neuroscience, as it is now in
Right.
2025, merging into 2026, is still 60-70% theoretical, guys. We're still figuring things out. We know a lot about neuroanatomy, but it's still very largely theoretical. And we think this is what's happening
I
when
see.
this is
Okay.
happening, type of thing.
Right.
So you can
Right.
imagine in 1999, the conversation I was getting from these doctors when they came back and showed me that, like, oh, yeah, you're kind of stuck here, guy. There's no healing nerve tissue. Neuroplasticity wasn't even on the radar at that point in time. It was
Right. Right.
like a
Right.
blip, a baby that they hadn't accepted yet. So yeah, you can imagine the vacuuming of hope that came from my medical staff.
Right. No solutions.
Yeah. And I don't
Sorry.
hold anything against them. You know,
No, 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 no.
I'm becoming a different doctor. That's the way they're trained, unfortunately.
Yeah. I'm looking at you right now. You're not the person you just described.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for noticing. It was quite the journey. It is one of the typical when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. For the first 2 to 3 days, I'll admit it was tough. I was asking friends to kill me. I couldn't stop crying. It was just hopelessness because again, these doctors come in that, as far as I'm concerned, as a 20-year-old kid, well, just shy of my 20th birthday.
Yeah, wow.
As far as I'm concerned, I'm a master of the freaking universe. I control the world with the things they taught us how to do and the power they
Yeah.
gave us to swing around and like all of these. As far as I'm concerned, I was on top of the world and I just had it cut right out from underneath me.
Yeah.
And I have all of these authority figures telling me, you're screwed. Just give up. There's nothing you can do. So you can imagine that was a big, deep, dark hole for about 2, 3 days there. Dude, this is where the military training truly is Jedi training. It's just unfortunate they don't untrain you on your way out, type of thing,
Yeah.
which is now
Oh,
my.
okay.
It's truly Jedi training because basically what I tuned into at that point in time was everything that they ran me through in SEER training
Right.
and all of these combat scenarios that they put us in. And all I could hear was evade, 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 resist, 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 try to escape. You are not forgotten. We're coming for you. We're coming for you. We're coming for you. Like, oh
Yeah.
my God, all the emotions well up in me in like the best way when I hear that because
Yeah.
it's programmed into us. You're
Right.
not done. There's one more thing you can do. 3 strikes, you're not out. It just started spinning in my head. So next
Right.
time, one of the doctors came in with their manage your life expectations garbage. I immediately screamed out as loud as I could. No, like if you have to bleep that, I get it. But it was immediately like, F no, doc. Like, look, I don't have to accept your view
Right.
on my reality any further. And the moment I screamed, I mean, I yelled. They probably heard me down on the other wing. The moment I screamed, my brachial plexus lit up. So on both sides here, you have this big complex of nerves that runs out to the periphery. And I
Yeah.
felt this zoom go
Wow.
from the very top of my chin all the way down to about the edge of my shoulders. And that right there, of course, you can imagine, I was like, what the hell was that? Like,
I
oh
feel
my
something.
God. Okay, doc, I need you to get the hell out of here because you obviously don't know what you're talking about. Then my friends in because we got some stuff to talk about. So that was the start. And like I said, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And
Okay.
next day, don't you know, the physiotherapist that they gave me was a male. So already, very small coincidence. I don't believe in those things, anyways. In
Right.
1999, the one male physical therapist they gave me was also an Ashtanga yogi. So
Okay.
he came in immediately. He came in hot, talking about yoga and breath work. And you can imagine, I'm like just shy of my 20th birthday. I'm a military combat guy. Like, dude, if I could kick you right now, I would, but I can't move my legs. Like, that's pretty funny. Thanks for the joke. I appreciate
Right.
you trying to elevate my experience. Ha ha, doc, that's great. And I
Right.
noticed his face wasn't changing. I was like, oh, you're serious. Like, dude, do you not see my condition? How am I going to do yoga? How the hell am I going to practice yoga? Are you kidding me? And that is when he imparted on me all the knowledge that got me started on this journey. It's like, dude. No, 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 no. The Western culture is what created such a focus on the asanas or the physical side of yoga. And while they're important, they're
Yeah.
literally 5%, if not less, of what yoga is all about. Yoga itself, down to its basis, is pranayama, mindset and breath control the life force that absolutely fills you and runs every experience that you are experiencing inside of this hallucination that we called life. And it
Right.
landed with me. It really did. I started listening, like, all right, show me. What do you got? What do you got? And that was when he hit me with one of my first Bastrika style breaths. For anybody that knows yoga out there, you know, Bastrika is it's almost similar to Tumo style breathing, you know, like Wim Hof and all these other things, but you're
Uh-huh.
really elevating energy inside of the body, stoking that fire, getting things going. So he
Right.
ran me through my first like 30 to 40 breath round where I was just going. And in the middle of that, again, I could feel things. I was like, what the hell is that? What is going on? And then he
Right.
told me to breathe in and hold. And this is when he also taught me about kumbhakas. And kumbhakas are all about holding in that space, being inside of that balance. So he told me to breathe in and hold. I breathed in and hold. Boom, I was gone. The moment I breathed in and held my breath, back in that place again, I was like, what the hell just happened? What
But
did
back
you
back in the observing place, looking down.
back in that place I was before the accident or after, you know, right after the accident. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was back in what I call the welcome home space, which is why my method that I've created is called the welcome home method, because
Nice.
every time I do the breath, I find that space again.
Wow.
It's a reprieve, a relief from everything.
Wow.
And, you know, that was kind of dropped on me out of nowhere because I opened that space. I allowed myself to recognize I don't have to listen to what these guys tell me my hallucination is. I can
Right.
create whatever I want. And boom, here comes this physiotherapist to give me the way forward on how to do that.
That's right. He heard you down the hall. He says, "Oh, okay, I got a mission."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that exactly. Yeah, that's I thought of that too. I was like, yeah, it was that when you yelled out, like that was you signaling the universe, hey, grab the one that's meant
Yeah.
to show me the way. Let's go.
Now this is a real guy. He's not like just an angel who showed up and disappeared and you never heard from him again. He
Here's the funny thing. I have not been able to find him. I have called the hospital for years and years and years, and I cannot find this guy. I
All right.
can't find him. I've been looking for over a decade, and I can't find him.
Did they say there was never a person on our records here?
Well, they just, yeah, they don't know. They're like, as far as we can see, you got your outpatient um, PT from the military when they transferred me back to the
Oh.
base from the, you know,
Yeah.
Arkansas Little Rock General.
Hmm.
So after I spent weeks in Little Rock General, I was transferred back to the base in Jacksonville, Arkansas.
Okay.
And based on what they see, I didn't get my PT until the day after I got there. So there's
Yeah.
this like 2 day to a week where it's like, what just happened here? Like, how the hell did this happen? Yeah,
I get chills just hearing that. So
I
so
love it.
what he taught you in that short bit of days, you took and ran with that basically.
Oh my God, I dug in like a tick. You can imagine. I was breathing all day long. Like
Yeah.
I probably 7, 8 times through the day, I would feel whatever, you know, despondent or hopeless or whatever started to be my experience, or, you know,
Right.
backtracking, because it's pretty natural when you have an injury, especially a neurological injury, that you find a little bit of ground and sometimes it backs away
Mm.
a little bit. So I
Sure.
would gain pieces of myself. And then next thing you know, the next day, I didn't have those pieces. So
Right.
it was this back and forth that I had to play with. So I was breathing, like I said, 7, 8 times a day, all the way to the point where sometimes I would freak out the like hospital staff because I'm sitting there doing the flipping chicken, or they think I'm coding or something is wrong. And I'm
Yeah.
like, no, I was feeling good. You have no idea, like the chemicals I was kicking up in my
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
body. So I dug in like a tick.
So how
But
long did you do that before you started to feel some sensation here? How long before you started to feel it in the lower extremities?
Within the first 2 months, I had the majority. I'd say if I had to pick a number, 70-ish% of my upper body back. I was still
Wow.
working on the fine motor skills, but
Uh-huh.
I was lifting arms. I was moving my neck. I was starting to be able to like twist at the rib area and stuff
Right.
like that to look at
Right.
friends and lift one shoulder. So that happened in like month
Right.
and a half to 2 months, which was super quick. And I know because it was what he taught me. It was all
Right.
the things I dug into type of thing. So
Jeez.
from there, I went, I was standing, grabbing things. I had a walker. I had all these other things to like train myself at home. And with
So
my,
everybody must be going, holy cow, this is impossible. Look at what you're doing. It must
after
have
what the
been,
doctors told everybody, like my
yeah,
friends who brought me in, after what the doctors told
yeah,
them to what I was experiencing in 2 months, everybody was definitely blown away. I was blown away.
yeah,
I mean, here
yeah,
they are telling me you might get some of it back, but I can't guarantee anything. You might be in a wheelchair for the rest of your life, buddy.
right.
And
And
here I
it's,
am now, like dragging myself around my house, like lifting up on counters, bed,
yeah,
whatever I could get. I was purposefully treating myself like a 2-year-old from that point. Like, dude,
yeah,
I was putting pillows and cushions all over the floor. So it was like, dude, just get out there, fall,
yeah.
let's go.
So when did you get your full lower extremities, your legs,
You
toes?
figure I was limping around within the first year. So I had a walker, or
Yeah.
at times on the really good days, I could use a cane.
Wow.
So I say about 2 years, and I could limp away to the point where sometimes I had to use the cane just to stabilize myself, but I didn't need it as I needed it before. So I give myself like the 18 to 24 months, and I was limping away from that thing. I still kept my cane, like I said, but it was there just as a reassurance. Like, okay, I've got a little
That's
catch if I.
you must have felt so amazing of what you did for yourself.
I really did. Yeah, I felt invincible again, right? Like
Yeah.
I did when I was in the military. I felt invincible again for that moment.
At what point did you start to look into neuroscience? While you were going on or after you were after the 2 years?
Yeah, it was after. It was actually quite a bit after. Right down the street was a place called True Fusion. They're all over the world now and have been building out. And I went in. I started taking some classes. I started doing some of their heated, Bikram style. It's not Bikram yoga, but Bikram style
Uh-huh.
heated type yoga classes.
Okay.
And I just noticed when I mixed the breath and the yoga and the mindset, all the things that I had been working on for even just a couple of weeks, I felt so much better. I didn't have to take, I didn't even have to think about taking any of the antidepressants and blah, blah. I'd come out of class and some of those intrusive thoughts were still there, but I noticed that the emotional power that they had diminished. The
Right.
more I did it, the more I
Right.
practiced, the
Right.
more I gave myself an experience differently to think and feel, all those things started to naturally minimize, which is why after about 2 months of that, I decided, like, dude, let's just learn how to be a teacher. Like, that, take your practice to the
Yeah.
next level.
And then they taught you some practices, mental practices in the yoga philosophy, I
Oh,
guess.
yeah, of course. Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I went through my 200-hour training, that's when the yoga philosophy landed.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
oh, okay. Now I get it. The 8 limbs, the niyamas and the yamas, the internal and external ways of being, which are basically for those that don't know, the 10 commandments of
Right. Yeah.
yoga. And they're
Yeah.
very similar to the ten
Very similar.
commandments in the Bible. Very,
Yeah.
very similar, almost exactly the same.
That's right.
So yeah, I started to fall into the yoga philosophy, and I adopted it. And the more I went that direction, the less I suffered in my life. It was quite amazing.
So now you're a yoga teacher. Who are you helping? Who are your clients?
Yeah. So I obviously I wanted to teach my brothers and sisters, right?
Right.
It means you now have an opportunity to save as many of your brothers and sisters as you can from this point forward. And that's
Amen.
literally what I focused on.
Okay. Beautiful.
Yeah. So it was
They got the same results from you that you got.
they were starting to, because of course I went through a lot of trauma informed training. I also became the executive director of a really great nonprofit that's still out there making big change in the world, called trauma yoga, basically. It's
Oh,
the
okay.
Yeah, it's the tribe. Amazing people, amazing people. So I got a chance to spend a lot of time with folks that had been through very similar situations. Whether you're a veteran or not,
Right,
everybody's been through some sort of combat,
right,
childhood, whatever,
right.
in your relationships. Your brain has processed combat like mine has, whether you've been in an actual combat situation or not. So I got to start to work with a lot of these people. And yeah, like you mentioned, in a very short amount of time, huge changes, mental shifts, like,
Yeah.
different feelings and emotions coming out of these people. And that was my, again, sign, like, this is the way I need to head.
Close to time, so I want to wrap up
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
how you got to. Let's make that connection to say, I want to be a neuroscientist.
Yeah, so that had happened just before my yoga training, because
Okay.
as I was coming out of that horrible phase of my life,
Uh-huh.
one of the questions I continued to ask myself is how. Right about the time that I started with my yoga training, I had already been like self-studying and really diving into neuroscience principles as far as figuring out neurochemical signals, electrical signals, psychology, and that was actually when I started formally training as well, and now have my bachelor's in psychology. So that's my undergraduate. And, as you mentioned, almost finished.
Congratulations.
2 more semesters with my master's in biomedical neuroscience.
Okay.
And yeah, it's just been about a decade and a half of study and connecting dots. And wouldn't you know it, on the scientific side, all we continue to do is prove what they knew like 7,000 years ago. It's so funny that we
Yeah.
think we're more technologically advanced than these ancient cultures
Yeah.
when the science is proving that we're catching up to them now,
Yeah.
not the other
Slow
way
case.
around.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Right. Even I tell people, 10,000 years ago, they were talking about the gut biome. And only like a
Exactly.
decade or two ago, they said, "Oh,
Yeah.
there's something here in our gut." That's
Your doshas, and they knew, yeah, they knew all about Ayurvedic medicine, over 7,000 years ago. It's sister science to yoga, right? Like, yeah,
yeah.
they knew all these things. Like, we're
Uh,
catching up to them.
Ayurveda says there's 6 stages of disease development, and Western medicine, with their machines, can only detect it in the last 2 stages. What is your vision when you graduate with your doctorate?
So right now, actually, what I'm doing is setting up my thesis work and the
Okay.
research that's moving forward. That's the exciting part for
Yeah,
me,
yeah, yeah.
is I get to do research that, again, connects the dots to all these ancient practices. Like, hey, what do you know? Fix the survival response, your rhythmic breath, and everything else inside of the body starts to shift and change and morph and create and happen. All these things happen. So
Yeah.
what we're working on is, my thesis is going to be working specifically with patients with multiple sclerosis. I
Okay.
have since had dozens and dozens of them move through the welcome home method and
Mhm.
turn their disease off like a switch. And of course, their
Dozens.
doctors are blown away. They're like, dude, how did you stop the progression of primary progressive multiple sclerosis? Like, how did you do this? Zero symptoms, zero, involuntary muscle spasm, sleeping
Yeah.
like a baby for the first time in 14 years. One of
Yeah.
them actually just walked up the stairs by himself, holding onto the wall, was messy as shit for the first time in a decade and a half. So that's going to be what my thesis work is moving forward, is specifically focusing on neurological conditions and autoimmune diseases like MS, but also working with spinal cord injuries like I have
Mhm.
been, and cancer
Yeah.
patients. Anybody who's looking
Yeah.
to make a shift, whether physiologically or mentally and psychologically,
Mhm.
that's what we're going to do. We're stepping into, as a neurochemist, I'm going to measure people's brains with fMRI, brain caps, EEGs, everything, blood
Everything
work,
else.
all of these things. So I can take all of this and compress it into actual information, so they can no longer call people like us woo woo. Like,
Yeah.
I'm one of
Yeah.
you, but
That's it. Well, it's an amazing journey you've gone through. You've gone to hell and back. Where can people find you? Where's your
yeah.
website?
Yeah, so they can find me in 2 places. We have, if you type in the Willful Warrior in YouTube, you'll find us. We have lots of free resources in there, nerdy stuff that we can talk about. And then also my website, which is thewillfulwarrior.com.
What's up next for you? What are you
Yeah,
you're
so I actually, we here very soon, for those that do go check out the website. And you can find me on all the social media platforms. We're going to
Okay.
put out myself and a co-host of mine who is absolutely amazing. Her name is Maria. We're doing an intention setting strategic reset event on January 3rd. We'll have all that information and everything on our website at the end of today, actually. So that's the next thing happening. And then
All right. Awesome.
thewillfulwarrior.com. Yeah.
.com.
Yeah.
All right. Leland Holgate, amazing story. God bless you. Now you're doing amazing things for the world, and you got to stay in touch, and we'll light up the sky with the information when you become your doctorate and you're ready.
Aho, brother. Thanks for having me. It's been great.
Okay. All the best. Joy, joy, joy.